clearly Americans want to serve their communities. They just need a leader who encourages them to do so. So maybe Governor Pritzker should spend less time demonizing the police, more time trying to recruit more police, and more time trying to call the President of the United States to get crime in his city under control. The President wants to allow law enforcement, whether it's state, local, federal, to do their jobs, to arrest criminals, to put them behind bars, and to remove public safety threats from American communities. He'll continue to do that. Thank you, guys.
So that is a clearly visibly triggered White House Press Secretary Karoline Leavitt storming out of the room, ending the press briefing, which was fairly disastrous per usual, because Governor J.B. Pritzker, a Democrat, the governor of Illinois, recently and pretty brutally criticized Donald Trump in a speech. And so even though the question was about what can Donald Trump do to call for greater recruitment for police officers, she had to make it about Governor Pritzker. Very petty, insecure. That's why she was so pissed and why she left the room in rage. But before we unpack all that, if you end up liking this video and you want to support the channel, please be sure to hit the like, subscribe, and alert bells before you go. All right, friends, we have several clips to play from Karoline Leavitt's disastrous White House press briefing. We're going to start with this one in which she tries to sanitize Donald Trump's record with respect to labor and workers.
And as we commemorate Labor Day this year, we finally have a president who fights and delivers for the American worker every single day. President Trump believes that American workers are the heart and soul of our economy and our national identity, which is why he's championed an agenda that puts them first always.
Except it's not manifest in anything, right? Trump's approval rating with respect to the economy and inflation, which are two things he used to lead on, right, unjustifiably, is in the toilet, even among independents, right? They don't buy this. The Trump is pro-worker, pro-economy, pro-labor. He's an astonishingly terrible pro-labor president. As a matter of fact, he gutted President Biden's National Labor Relations Board, unlawfully fired them, and got the approval ultimately from the Supreme Court, went out of his way to actually get rid of pro-labor, pro-worker advocates. He's a scab, in the words of United Auto Workers union leader Shawn Fain. There's no evidence that Trump has been a good pro-worker president. As a matter of fact, manufacturing jobs in this country have hemorrhaged under Trump compared to President Biden, just as they did in his first term. A lot of BS. Here's another clip.
As a result, President Trump has already brought in nearly $10 trillion in new private and foreign investments so that the top businesses in the world can create high-paying jobs in America and hire American workers to fill them.
So again, total bullshit, unsubstantiated allegations made by the Trump administration. He also says at various points, 16 trillion in investments. The fact of the matter is there's just no evidence of this. Rock even points out when people ask, White House claims nearly $10 trillion in announced investments under Trump, but fact checks from sources like factcheck.org and Al Jazeera estimate actual new and committed amounts to about $4 to $5 trillion as of mid-2025. In other words, at best, it's half of the investments that Trump is claiming to have. And again, these are just claimed. These are just intended investments, in the words of the business community, which means they may not even come to fruition at all. Something to keep in mind. I don't know why we would give Trump credit for that, especially when he's fudging the numbers. I want to play this clip too, because last night was a mass purge event at the Centers for Disease Control, thanks to the terrible leadership of RFK Jr. We are in a true health crisis because of his mismanagement, and this is a question about that.
Karoline, thank you so much. First, on the firing of the CDC director, who will replace her? And then also, overnight, the White House said that she did not align with the president's agenda. Dr. Menard's attorneys say that she refused to rubber stamp unscientific, reckless directives and fire dedicated health experts. What specifically did she do wrong?
Look, what I will say about this individual is that her lawyer's statement made it abundantly clear themselves that she was not aligned with the president's mission to make America healthy again. And the secretary asked her to resign. She said she would, and then she said she wouldn't, so the president fired her, which he has every right to do. It was President Trump who was overwhelmingly reelected on November 5th. This woman has never received a vote in her life, and the president has the authority to fire those who are not aligned with his mission.
Nobody's saying that Trump lacks the authority to fire at-will employees. Like, she shouldn't be able to fire I mean, lawfully, he can't fire like the Federal Reserve governor, for example. He has to have cause. But a lot of people in the executive branch, Trump can either fire or arrange for the at-will firing of them. But the question is, why did he do it? What was the reason, given this person's experience, given their competency? I mean, again, the purge event, we'll probably discuss it in a separate video, but Axios is reporting unable to serve. CDC vaccine chief slams Kennedy in resignation post. A CDC official who resigned following the announcement that agency director Susan Menares had been ousted shared a post Wednesday on why he's stepping down that accused HHS Secretary RFK Jr. of ignoring experts. Dimitri Daskalakis, who was the director of the National Center for Immunization and Respiratory Diseases, said on X that recent policy changes threaten lives and that there had been a, quote, intentional eroding of trust in low-risk vaccines. So let's take a look at this here real quick. I mean, it's just stunning stuff. I'm writing to formally resign from my position. I'm happy to stay on for 2 weeks to provide transition if requested. This decision has not come easily, as I deeply value the work that the CDC does in safeguarding public health, and I'm proud of my contributions to that critical mission. However, much of my contemplation and reflection on recent developments and perspectives brought to light by RFK Jr., I find that the views he and his staff shared challenge my ability to continue in my current role at the agency and in the service of the health of the American people. Is enough. Enough is enough. I believe it's imperative to align my professional responsibilities to my system of ethics and my understanding of the science of infectious disease, immunology, and my promise to serve the American people. That step is necessary to ensure I can contribute effectively in a capacity that allows me to remain true to my principles. I'm unable to serve in an environment that treats the CDC as a tool to generate policies and materials that do not reflect scientific reality and are designed to hurt rather than improve the public's health. And he goes on like this, just excoriating RFK Jr. for his conspiracism and his anti-science, pseudoscience views. It's just really alarming stuff. Again, we'll probably discuss it in a separate video. Karoline Leavitt was also asked about Lisa Cook, the Biden-appointed Federal Reserve governor whom Trump is attempting to unlawfully fire.
The question has to do with Lisa. I just had one more, if I may. It has to do with the president's intention to remove Lisa Cook as a member of the Federal Reserve Board. He is going or acting upon allegations that have been made by Trump administration official Bill Pulte. These are just allegations. She hasn't been convicted yet of any crime. Is the administration opposed to allowing Ms. Cook to have due process, to challenge what has been alleged against her?
I believe she is challenging it. I believe she just filed a lawsuit today, and Mr. Pulte has deferred those allegations over to the Department of Justice to investigate them. What I will say is that you had these mortgage receipts very clearly shown to the president, and he has the cause that he needs to fire this individual. He laid it out in a letter that he provided to her and to the public as well. And so we'll continue to fight this battle.
I mean, it's just, again, ironic for various reasons. Again, no charges, mere allegations. Of course, Donald Trump, as well as somebody who has, played fast and loose with mortgages. I mean, consider the fraud cases against him. Yes, one of the penalties was recently vacated, but the judgment remained in that Trump was guilty of lying, of misrepresenting mortgages in order to receive, beneficial financial terms, right? So this is a man who was not only accused of doing it, but actually found to have done it in the court systems, not mere allegations, not even mere charges. And he had a judgment brought against him. And yet he's the president, and he's saying, well, I am accusing you, not even charging you, let alone convicting you. I am accusing you of engaging in the very sorts of behavior that I myself engaged in. I'm going to fire you. It's pretty shocking, pretty despicable. I want to play one last clip, which again discusses the CDC situation. It's the most important question in this press conference in so many ways, given the massive health implications for not just this generation of American citizens, not just those of us today, but your children and your children's children.
Brian.
Thank you, Caroline. Two questions. Bouncing off the CDC situation with CDC. I'm curious if administration officials are pushing back on the president's agenda, privately, publicly, however, should they fear to lose their jobs going forward?
Look, I think if you're doing your job well, and if you are executing on the vision and the promises that the president made to the public who elected him back to this office, then you should have no fear about your job. Just do your job. That's what this president wants to see. He wants to see people solving problems. He wants to see the people who have the privilege of serving the American taxpayer and the federal government abiding by the wishes of the American taxpayers who overwhelmingly reelected him in this cabinet to make America great again, or in this case, make America healthy again.
So it's a shitty answer for a few reasons. Number one, Trump wasn't overwhelmingly elected. He won a plurality of the vote, not the majority of the vote. Number one. Number two, his polling is atrocious. He's underwater. So majority of Americans are against him at this point. He's underwater in every major policy area. But again, that wasn't a satisfying answer. It's very obvious that if you disagree with the Trump administration with respect to a health policy, for principled, evidentiary-based scientific reasons, you will be purged. And that's what we're seeing out of the CDC now. Pretty shocking stuff. Again, another disastrous White House press briefing for Karoline Leavitt as she tries to spin on a sinking ship. And again, getting so triggered at the very end by a question about police that she had to pivot into an attack on Democratic Governor J.B. Pritzker of Illinois and then leave the room in rage just goes to show how insecure this administration is. Ironically, I think it makes them more dangerous. In the meantime, let me know what you think in the comments.